Mr. President, it was on the 15th of November, 2022, when I raised a matter on the motion for the adjournment on the whole Methanol Holdings International Limited matter. And during that particular matter, which I raised, on the whole issue, Mr. President, concerning the valuation of the shares of Methanol Holdings International Limited, and the whole question of not having an independent valuation of those shares in Methanol Holding, which is about, at that time, 56.5% or thereabouts. The minister in the Ministry of Finance is on record as informing this Honorable Senate at that time, in 2022, the 15th of November, that the final valuation for this Methanol Holdings International Limited shareholdings would have been completed or was completed in 2022 and shall be reported in CLICO's 2022 financial statements. Now, Mr. President, we have a copy of the 2022 financials dated December 31st, 2022. And even though the Minister of Finance had given us an undertaking that that independent valuation report would have been contained in this financial report of CLICO ended the 31st of December 2022, what happened? There was no independent valuation report, as the minister promised in this report. What we did have, Mr. President, is an in-house valuation by CLICO, when we were told by the Honorable Minister that an independent valuation would have been contained in the 2022 report. And this is where we have a lot of concerns and there's some confusion. Mr. President, I want you to look at the CLICO Insurance Company report, December 31st, 2022. And if you go to page 73 of that report for 2022, the minister told us that the independent valuation report by Duff and Phelps would have been contained in this report that I'm reading from. You know what was in this report in 2022? I quote, this is CLICO. In 2022, the company determined the fair value of its shareholdings in Methanol Holding International Limited using a combination of both the income and the market approach. This is what we were told in the report, that the company, CLICO, determined their own valuation strategy and mechanism. You know what was the valuation CLICO put the shares at, Mr. President? $337 million US. That is for the 56.6% shareholding of CLICO in Methanol Holding International Limited. You know what we discovered? There's another valuation report that puts the valuation at $357 million US. The question that we are asking, Mr. President, what is the true valuation report that the government used to determine the sale of the 36.5% shareholdings, with 17 going to NIF and 19.63 going to corporation sole? Was it the independent valuation report by Duff and Phelps, valued at $357 million US? Or was it, Mr. President, the in-house valuation conducted by CLICO?
Senator, you have 2 more minutes.
So, which is valued, thank you, Mr. Which is valued at $337 million US. A difference of almost close to 700 to 800 million TT dollars. So what we are asking, Mr. President, for clarification, we would like the minister to tell this parliament which valuation report was used to sell the shares of CLICO to NIF and to sell the shares to corporation sole. Was it the in-house valuation report, or was it the independent valuation report? And in closing, we want copies of the shareholders agreement. We want a copy of the sale and purchase agreement. We want a copy of the share valuation agreement. And we want a copy of the independent and actual final valuation report, so that Trinidad and Tobago would be able to transparently see what they got in exchange for the sale of shares to NIF and to corporation sole. This is the issue, and I would need clarification on behalf of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. I thank you, Mr. President.
Minister in the Ministry of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, unfortunately, this is not the question that Senator Mark posed to the Ministry of Finance. And I shall repeat the question, the official question, for clarity. The need for the Minister in the Ministry of Finance to address the inconsistency in information provided to the Senate and information contained in CLICO's 2022 financial statements on CLICO's shares in Methanol Holdings International Limited. There was no mention of valuation or valuation report. The question was quite vague and confusing. If Senator Mark were to ask a more focused question in the future, we have no problem in researching and responding to his pointed question.
Supplementals when we're dealing with matters on the adjournment. I now invite you to raise the second matter that you have on matters for the motion on the adjournment.
This issue.
Senator Mark, the Minister in the Ministry of Finance, gave a response within the allotted time that he has as it relates to this proceeding.
The government is involved in a major cover-up.
Senator Mark, I'm on my legs. And you understand the procedure that when I'm on my legs, that there is to be silence to allow the chair to speak. Again, move on to your second matter on the motion for the adjournment.
$700 million involved. Mr. President.